The Toronto condo sector is getting hit really hard right now. Sales are down 81% in the third quarter. 81%. That's a really, really bad number. And despite all the rate cuts that we've seen, plus more to come, this number at 81% less sales is crazy. And this is what I'll be breaking down for you on this week's reaction video. Now, if you're looking to get into the condo market or trying to get out of the condo market, you're going to see very soon in this video why it really depends on the type of condo you have and what you have, because there are some opportunities around the buy side or some unfortunate news if you're on the sell side that you need to understand. And if you want to know how that applies to you personally, you could book a call with me using the link that's on the screen. It's right here. It's www.chatwithzen.com. Simply click on the date and a time that works best for you. And then when you see the prompt, fill in your name, email, mobile phone number, and the question you have for me, and then we'll chat then. Good day, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Prime Properties TV. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Zhen, and I own and operate a Remax in the Greater Toronto Area and helping a lot of clients buy, sell, and invest in real estate. And if you're enjoying the content I'm putting out there, do me a favor and like and subscribe. And on this episode, we'll be talking about Toronto region condo sector sees deepening slump as sales fall 81% in the third quarter. That is nuts. That's nuts. Now, I do have to preface saying that they are specifically talking about new condos, so pre-construction. But I can essentially see that it's at a 30-year low and only 567 new condos have sold, which is crazy. In 3 months, which is like 180-ish or so condos every month. That's wild. That's very little stuff that's moving. And it's not even like it's so bad, like just, year over year comparison, which a lot of these charts use. When they compared it to the last decade, 87%, which is even lower. And we haven't seen this little sale since 1995. So think about this contextually. The population has increased dramatically, borderline doubling in Toronto since 95. And we have that little sales right now. That's how bad and dire it is. So why is that? Let me show you. The reason why it's so bad is kind of just like summarized in this little blurb right here. Resale condos, meaning stuff that's on the market right now on MLS for you to go see, whereas pre-construction, you're buying the paper, are priced anywhere between $900 to $1,100 a square foot right now. That's true. And while pre-constructions for new condos cost somewhere between $1,300 to $1,600 a square foot. So the lower end generally is older buildings and maybe outside of Toronto core proper, and the higher end is probably like newer buildings and in Toronto core proper. So there is essentially a 40% spread between buying resale and new. That's a really hard price to justify. So when I just quickly look at condos.ca that kind of summarizes some of this data, you can see that the price per square foot in the last 14 days has been about $877. For context, during the pandemic, when I was looking at this, it got up to as high as like $1,100 a square foot on the resale side. So it's come down quite a bit. Now, what I will say about this metric, so people aren't freaking out, is that even our clients who are looking right now, most of them are looking for larger units. So like your 1 bedrooms and 2 bedrooms that are more like call it over 500 square feet and 2 bedrooms over 800. The reason for that is because they're more livable, right? So when you have so much inventory on the market right now, you have a lot more choices. So you're able to kind of go for the more, end user kind of type of product. Whereas the properties that are very small and call it efficient and new tend to not be, looked at as much, at least from our perspective. Now, when we look at kind of Urbanation's kind of data, they're saying that unsold new inventory, meaning stuff that's on the market that you can buy directly from a builder right now, is averaging somewhere between $1,350 a square foot. And it's down 2.2% and it peaked at $1,400. So you can see that even just looking at, very headline numbers, there's a difference of $1,300 minus $850 or $875. That's a lot, right? So $400 a square foot, give or take. So that's kind of the problem when we're looking at the resale versus pre-con right now. Like, why would you buy a pre-con when you can't even move in, especially if investors aren't really looking to buy it? Because one, when you have these kind of price points, like your numbers have never made really sense at like $1,600 a foot. Like I've even said in the past before, they stopped making sense at like $1,000 a foot, like downtown core, when you could get like $4 a foot in rent, right? So this is a tough pill to swallow if you don't have capital appreciation. So this chart I put together to kind of like break out and show you what type of condos are selling and what isn't, because everybody is, painting a very broad stroke of the entire market, and I always want to break it down to the micro market to understand, right? And this is what we do for a lot of clients, so to understand what type of product they're trying to buy or sell into. You can see that this red box over here, which is where the buyer's market is, meaning like prices are likely to come down, is over 6 months. In the middle is 4 to 6, which is kind of like where most of the stuff is right now. And then you have seller's market. So you can see this chart, maybe a little bit hard to see, but starting from September 2016 to give you an idea when the condo market is really hot, you can see over here that, we're sub 2 months. You can see this is COVID, it spiked up and then interest rates were low and then it's kind of shot back up. And this is where like prices were going up in the green line. In the yellow line, they're kind of like balanced, and in the red line, they're likely to come down. And you can see when I broke out the bedrooms, you can see that over here, the bachelors, meaning likely like sub 499 square foot, there's so much inventory right now. It is absolutely insane. So those very, very small units, they're not like end user friendly. They're not being bought, especially if they're tenanted. Whereas if you look at like the one bedrooms and 2 bedrooms are like a little bit lower than the more balanced one. So what I've been saying in the past is if you have a really good property that shows 10 out of 10, like it's still going to have buyers on it, not multiple offers. It's just like it won't sit around as long, but those have to be more geared towards end user, right? So like good layouts, a lot of light, functional kitchen, bedrooms are big, over like 10 by 10 on the primary as opposed to like 9 by 9, you can fit a queen bed and like 2 headrests, right? So those kind of are the products that are moving, right? And you can see the 3 bedrooms also not doing too well. And the 3 bedrooms, they just make no sense because you might as well just buy a freehold property at that point. And the builders just had to build them like 10% roughly of the building. And they always had a hard time selling them anyways. And people are just offloading them right now. So that's kind of like what's happening on the condo inventory side in Toronto. And yeah, it's just not great. It's just not great. And the final thing I kind of want to draw our attention to is that many previously planned condo projects are being converted to rentals and are facing significant delays and cancellations. So here's kind of what's happening with the inventory side. If the project can't get to like, 70, 80% if they need construction financing, that project's like dead in the water because they can't get money to build it. So, the project gets canceled. Or there's some builders who own that piece of land and they're like, well, we're not confident in selling it and reaching that kind of milestone of 70, 80% sold. Then they convert it to rentals, and they've made a little bit more sense since the government has removed the HST cap. The problem with the rental side is we're having a lot of them, and generally builders don't like to build them because like if you sell them as condo, you get all your money at the end. Whereas with the rental, you have to manage the thing and hopefully sell it off to like a pension fund or something, right? So it's just more money is tied into kind of rental, and you can't really use the deposit from like, pre-construction condo investors to subsidize what we call like your financing stack, right? So those are kind of like the pros and cons of why things are moving in that incentive. It's just basically anyone who owns a piece of land wants to keep the business going, they're just converting the condo projects into rentals, right? That's kind of why. Now, the magic question that everyone's wondering right now is like, hey, at what point do I think prices for condos specifically are going to start going up or rebound? And we always talk about like, there's a lack of sales. And I've talked about a lot too. I really don't think we're going to see prices move in any direction until 1, the inventory is absorbed, and 2, the investors are back, okay? Because if we look at condos as a whole, right, you can see no investors are buying this stuff. So this stuff is going to sit around, right? And that may put a drag on the market. And when you see here, a lot of these pre-constructions generally are bought by investors. And with the investors, they usually buy the smallest unit because it rents the best and the numbers work the best. So you can see that when we have sales all the way down here in the blue line, and then the orange is basically when condo construction starts, it's going to take some time. And construction will be all the way down here. And then 5-6 years later is when they are supposed to come for completion. So this is why a lot of people, including myself, have been saying we're going to have potentially a shortage in 2028, 2029, when the ramification of all these lack of sales are going to happen. But that also just means that we need to see some of these condo prices from like $1,500-$1,600 a foot that have kind of sold get back to that price point, right? And you can't really get back to that price point unless you absorb this inventory because they're still like 40% underwater for a lot of them. There's a lot of turmoil coming ahead for condo owners that are investors specifically, but as an end user, you have a good product. Again, it's still moving. So I think on top of like the freehold and the condo market separating, I think the investor layout and also kind of the end user layout in condos are going to split differently as well. So depending on what type of product you're looking for or trying to get rid of, make sure you keep that in mind. Just as a fun anecdotal story that I was shared on my newsletter, and if you want to be on that, you can click in the description below. Normally back in like 2017 to like say 2020, when pre-construction was hot, we had like sales events where people line up and try to get in, and you had your platinum agents. We even had people like Greyhound buses touring people around to buy pre-construction condos. Now I'm driving around and I see signs that look like this, and they're having sales events, but instead of for pre-construction, for assignments. And you can see over here, they're all being advertised as assignments for loss. That means there's a lot of people, or this person who's arranging the sales event, have a lot of condos that are underwater that people are willing to lose money on right now. So that's just like an anecdotal story, and to show you the sentiment and how bad it is. Hopefully this gives you an idea of what's happening in the condo market right now. Again, it's not great depending on kind of like what your perspective is right now. And if you want to chat about your specific situation in the condo space, you could do so by booking a call with me using the link that's on the screen right here, www.chatwithzen.com. Until next time, your move, your future. See ya! Now that you're done watching this one, how about this one or this one? You know what? Just watch them both.